So, in another episode of We Told You So, recently Oprah Winfrey has kind of popped her head into people's minds. This time she was doing some interviews and some story about adult children going no contact with their adult parents. I have some experience with this, but that's a long discussion I don't really want to go into. What I do want to do is use this opportunity to remind everybody that Oprah Winfrey used her platform in the early 2000s to give anti-vaxxers, wellness scammers, and an actress an opportunity to spread nonsense to millions of people. And for that, I will never forgive Oprah Winfrey. She stopped being a journalist in the early 2000s because she decided, well, I'm going to ride this trend of anti-vaccine nonsense, this trend of gluten-free will cure different things. The most specific thing that gluten-free was supposed to fix at the beginning of the early 2000s, the turn of the century, was autism. Autism spectrum disorder is a complex neurodevelopmental condition. It's a neurotype. It's a brain that's built a certain way. And there are multiple factors that affect the development of the human brain. The most specific being genetics. Who are your parents and who are their parents? And how it's been handed down for generations. In addition to that, there could and probably is some environmental factors that also affect autism spectrum disorders presentation or phenotype. It's important to understand that it's complex and it's not one size fits all. It's also important to understand that some children have a traumatic injury to their brain. That is not autism either. That's a neurologic injury that affected the development of their brain. What Oprah Winfrey did, introducing America and the world to anti-vaccine nonsense, is unforgivable. In addition, she introduced us to Dr. Phil, also not a doctor, also full of nonsense and bootstrap mentality and hateful rhetoric and divisive techniques that are not in any way therapy. She introduced us to Mr. Oz, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, who is now in charge of CMS and has spent the majority of the past 20 years, 2 decades, slinging supplements and promising cures to illness, all for a profit. In fact, he had to divest himself from iHerb, his company that he owns that sells supplements. So, yeah, there's that. So, 3 of some of the worst people in recent disinformation and misinformation history were introduced to us by Oprah Winfrey. So, she lost credibility to me 2 decades ago. Oh, and to finish off, when the American Academy of Pediatrics attempted to debunk the certain actress that was regularly featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show spouting nonsense about autism and vaccines and gluten, they were rejected by the producers of the show. I know because I contacted the American Academy of Pediatrics and asked, why are you not on the show? I was in residency at the time, and I emailed their media people, and I said, why are you not on the Oprah Winfrey Show debunking the actress's claim? And they said, because we were never allowed to be on the show. The producers literally wouldn't let us on the show. So let's just put that into perspective. If you are claiming to be journalism, but you don't tell both sides, that's not journalism. That's a puff piece, and you have caused immeasurable damage. And I will never forgive her for that.